Hey guys, how's it going? Hope everybody's having a good time. I'm having a very good time because I got beer. If you got beer, you better have some beer in front of you. Well, anyway, today we're going back to another series, another video of airbrushing the Harley Davidson V ROD. And today I'm going to focus on the back piece. It's a rear mudguard, rear kind of seat mounting unit. So I'm going to do this today. We're going to do a couple more skulls on that, slightly different, you know. I think it's a triple skull I'm working in the back. Again, a bit of tribal going design on the back, and then hopefully later on we can blend it all in with some blue fire. See how that goes. Right, I need to get going, guys, so enjoy your beer. I'm gonna enjoy mine. I'm gonna load that motherfucking airbrush and get to work. See what happens. Alright guys, so the last episode I had really good feedback on the voiceover from all of you. Thank you very much for letting me know. So I thought I'd do the same thing in these videos. It's the same series, you know, in the same kind of format, so may as well carry on with that, see what happens. And like previously, obviously the things start with a kind of stencil, a photocopy, you know. I'm cutting out again the roadmap, you know. I'm not trying to be too detailed about it. I mean, this stencil, this artwork chosen by the customer is not very detailed anyway. It's kind of a two-tone sticker style, but I want to know where the eye sockets are, where the nose cavity is, you know, where the mouth, the teeth, you know, ends and finish, you know, that kind of, you know, or the jawline, you know. That is very important for me to get it right and symmetrical when it comes to the artwork. Again, I'm not being very detailed, you know, about what I'm cutting out. It's just the main, very basic roadmap, and I can reuse that stencil later on, as you saw it in the previous video, to kind of make my life a little bit easier around some edges and around, you know, coming back to it when I need to have like the sharp, crisp edge to it, so I can reuse it. Other than that, I'm not really cutting out very detailed, you know, stencil. Again, just before we stick it on and start airbrushing, the final, you know, degrease and clear of the panel, I'm using just a panel degreaser, panel wipe kind of thing. The panel has been prepared previously in the very first video, but this is just making sure there's no grease, no residue on it whatsoever, so the paint really sticks nicely to it and don't react too much. And my stencil is now positioned, and I know what I'm doing, know what I'm heading with it. Obviously, I can see I put little horns on the skulls as well, on the side ones, and as you can see, I'm very lightly putting my roadmap, my kind of GPS location of where I'm going. And from that point, as you know from previous video, I like to work very much freehand. You know, 95% of what I'm doing right now is freehand artwork. I'm having a little bit of issues with an airbrush over here. Something wasn't running right, there's probably a little blockage. It happens sometimes, you know. It works fine, but when I stop the camera, I work it out, and smooth sailing from now on, hopefully. So as you can see, I'm working a little bit on textures straight away already, but I want to get my whites roadmap, get everything what I want it to be. Gradually I'm loading it with white. As you notice, probably I'm jumping around, you know. I'm working on eyebrows, then I'm going back to nose, then I'm going to the teeth later on, and I'm coming back to the eyebrows and the forehead. The reason for that is I don't like to stay focused too much on one area and overkill it, overload it with white. Instead, I'm jumping back and forth, you know, just to make kind of even progress on the whole thing. If I stay into one area too long, I found that it's just over detailed and the other areas just not getting the same attention, if you know what I mean. But if I'm jumping back and forth, it kind of everything, the whole skull gets the whole same amount of attention, maybe this way, amount of attention and the level of white of the first layer. And when you progress this way, the whole thing looks like it's one piece. It looks very uniformed, as opposed working on the eyes first and then going somewhere else. You may lose that kind of context, you know. So you will see that a lot, guys. This is my thing, you know. I jump around through the whole artwork a bit. Obviously, I'm working on one skull right now. I want to get it more or less what I want to before I move on to the other two. But that's how I like to work. I like to overload it sometimes with white a little bit. I can always go back later with my black and push it back. But the first roadmap is the first layer is kind of important, so you know where you go and you can take a step back and see the artwork, and you know what you need to do next. Light passes, guys. Light passes. I'm not loading the whole thing with white. Light passes, multiple passes, and gently and gradually build up that that white, that your map, your base color for it, basically. Don't spray 1 or 2 thick layers. I like to come back to it 5, 6, 7, 8 times sometimes of very light passes. That's how you build the texture. That's how you build your make progress. That's what I like to do anyway. By the way, the airbrush I'm using, that's an Iwata HPB. The first one, the original version, is not the Plus. Very few differences between them, but that is an amazing piece of kit. It's really, really liking working with that airbrush. That's probably the airbrush I've been using through the whole project when it comes to detailing these skulls. Anyway, on the petrol tank I use this very airbrush for the whole thing, and obviously right now I'm using just one Iwata HPB airbrush. And I bought it, nobody paid me again to say that. I really like that piece of kit. I believe it's a good piece of kit anyway. Very fine airbrush. And you can see in more detail, you know, these are quite small skulls, you can see what this gun is capable of. And by the way, these patterns I'm working on right now, I don't have any reference images really. As you saw, the main stencil is just two-tone. It's not even monochrome, it's two-tone, it's just black or white. There's nothing else to it. So everything I'm working from here, I'm working from my own head, from my imagination. You just need to look at skulls, you know. I've been looking at skulls for most of my life, you know. I like skulls, and when you've been in motorcycle kind of airbrushing industry, lots of people like skulls, so you need to have fascination with bones and skulls, and just kind of in a healthy way, obviously, and kind of know where they go without even looking at the reference images. Reference images help a lot, and I always have some kind of skull somewhere in my head sitting, but this is working just from my imagination. Well, anyway, here I'm starting with my black, pushing it back, you know, the first or second layer really of that colors. Again, it's not really 100% black. I got my black, I got drop of red in there and drop of blue, makes it a bit more gentle against the white, and it's heavily reduced as well, so I can produce really nice shading to it. I find out that pure black against white, it's really in your face, like really a lot too much in your face. When you add some blue and add some red to it, opaque colors, that allows you to gently blend it in, and it's not so much, you know, it's not so much in your face, as I said before. It kind of against white, it sits just a little bit better than just pure black. And as you can see, I'm pushing back the areas I want it to be a little bit further away, deeper, you know, when the shadow is supposed to be. The way I work with these skulls, the light source is coming from right hand side of your screen when you're looking at it. So it's kind of shining across from right to left, same as the skull I've done on the petrol tank, so they kind of follow, because that's the tailpiece. So as you can see, the things on the right hand side are a bit more illuminated, and the shadow drops on the left, if that makes any sense. At this point, I obviously decided I have enough of this stencil, you know, sitting there, and I can remove it to have a step back and go back, you know, with my whites right now to produce even more highlights. I'm probably gonna go back one more time with black and one more time with white to produce this very, very last highlights of it, you know, that brings it really, the light source hits it the most, and it appears closer to the viewer, closer to you, closer to your screen. So that's what I'm doing right now, just hitting them whites one more time, bringing them back to life a little bit, back to your to the front of the spectators, basically, when the light is the focus on that. That's about it, right? yeah, same on this little guy over here, you know, just hidden highlights, something I want to be more profound, you know, all the teeth, jawline, you know, it's kind of sticking out a bit further than the other parts, so anything that's closer to you, light will hit and it appears whiter than anything else really. So once again, you know, pushing it back with black and white brings it back to life, you know, back to the viewer, you know, to the front of the image. If you want it to appear closer to you, put some white on it. If you want to push it back, attack it with black, and then we'll kind of push it back into the shadow. Again, creating some textures, you know, bit by bit. I've been working with that a lot. What I'm doing right now, I'm just adding a freehand, a couple of like piercing to the skull, one in the eyebrow, one in the nostril. So it's all by hand, you know, it's not planned. I just thought it would be a good idea to put it there. And again, a bit of highlights where I think it's supposed to be. That's working kind of on the details now. When the first layer, it's very vague and very, you know, unfocused. This layer is actually a lot of detailed work, and I'm pushing some shadows again against those piercings, and a little bit of underspray I achieved before because the stencil was very loose stencil. As you can see, I'm going back with black and then I'm adopting it to blend it in, so the whole thing doesn't look like a sticker. It kind of is blend into the piece, the artwork. So that's, you know, a bit of underspray. It's never really a problem. I can go back with black and attack it this way, and once it's clear coated, it will never be visible. And that's it, you know. That was probably a whole day of work. Well, whole day of, like, whole evening of work anyway. Detailing on those skulls is done. Obviously I will attack it later on with a bit of candy on the next episode to make it a bit more bone color, and I do some candy blue on eye sockets to blend it with the blue fire. But that's the next episode, and for now guys, thank you very much for watching. Have a bit rock hard, and join me in the next episode. We're gonna paint the rest of the bike.